Сейчас, что ли? Okay, sound check. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexey Trefilov, CEO of Elma. Please welcome Alexander Khodarev, product owner of Elma 365.
Hi.
Within the last 13 years, we helped other companies to work more productive. And today we conduct a practical webinar. We'll start from the basics and discuss some basic features about low-code and no-code platforms, discuss pros and cons, and then we'll switch to practical part while Alexander Khodarev will design a business application from the scratch. And please feel free to write your questions into the question and answer box below. We'll try to answer all your questions. Today, we have some really huge audience, and we expect their connection in the next couple of minutes. So right now, we'll make a short break. In 2 minutes, we'll start the webinar. Thanks. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start. Oh, I have some problems with my gear. Okay, now yes. Nowadays, in order to be competitive, business should have strong IT and powerful and modern business applications. And this is not only a question of survival. It's also some kind of rule of the market because during 2020, we've seen that many businesses faced strong complications due to their weak IT. And today, in 2021, every business needs and would like to hire huge amount of developers. But business applications development is still pretty slow and risky. There is a solution called low code. And today we'll discuss the technology at the beginning and their pros and cons. And then we'll see how to create business application from the scratch. And first of all, please look at the picture below. This is typical pipeline of product development in IT. Usually, we have huge amount of ideas at the beginning. Some of them even could be well documented, but usually we always have some thin bottleneck where all our ideas could be lost. I'm talking about development by itself, because usually only a few amount of technical staff could develop solutions. Idea of low code is to democratize the whole process and to give ability to create applications for wide range of users. I mean, analysts and business users. And some people here could say like, oh, I really don't believe in that because I don't want to develop applications. But please, just remember the idea of product Microsoft Excel, for example. This is very simple solution, but it's powerful enough. And it's so useful and comfortable for wide range of users. I mean that there are huge amount of C-level management who use Excel in their everyday life. Of course, they could ask their employees to do that job for them, but it's way more comfortable to calculate something by yourself there. So the idea of low code is the same, to provide the software which is so comfortable for such purposes that business users could participate in product development too. So what actually low code and no code tools looks like? Usually it's some kind of constructors. So we build applications with drag and drop idea. So usually we have some kind of palette where we take ready to use bricks, put them on worksheet and create applications, workflows, different kind of reports, dashboards, etc. The idea is the same for a huge variety of different systems. And let's start our discussion from just a brief review of no-code tools. Maybe one of the most popular no-code tool is Amazing Bubble. It's so powerful solution where you could create applications from the scratch or from ready-to-use library with no line of code at all. So you could create interfaces, you could create workflows and how to say, like to code business logic without code, actually. And you could expand system abilities with huge amount of ready-to-use plugins. So the solution is so powerful enough to create, how the vendor call them, like killers of like Ticketmaster, etc. So this software could be used to create really powerful business software. And another example of no-code tools is Integromat. Sorry, you could solve one of the most complicated tasks in software development. I mean software integration without code at all. So it's the same idea. Just drag and drop. Put different elements on your worksheet, connect applications, and you could combine your IT zoo within one workflow. So in fact, there are so huge amount of different no-code applications for different purposes. So you could build applications, you could build integrations, you could work with data with amazing tools like Airtable, etc. You could build websites, you could even create more complicated solutions like bots and work with artificial intelligence and even develop some machine learning products without coding. And this is something like disrupt, because you could develop solutions with no code and have huge amount of features. First of all, you receive some incredible development speed. It's so fast, and there are bunch of different ready-to-use solutions combined in different kind of libraries from vendors. So usually all that solutions have very low, very easy start. So you don't need to be technically skilled. It's easy to integrate different systems, and usually they are pretty cheap. So it's very nice solution for startups just to create something while you have nothing, for example. And it's amazing tools for fast prototypes because you could create a solution, understand how it looks like, some pros and cons. And since that moment, you could start average standalone development where coders will create solution from the scratch. But let's look on the next picture. What actually business application consist of? First layer is layer of data. Here we have databases, here we have documents, etc. On the second layer, usually we have a layer of business logic. It's all about workflows. It's all about your application behavior, in fact. And the third layer is layer of interfaces. It's all about all application environment with which human employees interact with. And look at the next picture. There are plenty of solutions that cover different layers of business application development. Usually it's impossible to create enterprise level solution without with only one solution. Usually we have to combine a lot of them. So there are some list of real disadvantages of no-code solutions. Because, of course, first of all, that vendors try to create so easy solutions which don't require any kind of complicated education. So these vendors won't follow your dreams to create a solution more complicated. Usually it's quite complicated to integrate that systems with some legacy systems and some solutions which are not supported by a vendor. And most amount of them have some problems with security department because they don't have such kind of deep configuration settings to work with. And sometimes they are just pretty slow because there are a lot of users who are working at the same servers. So vendors try to limit their powers in order to prevent some speed degradation. some kind of that. Yes, there are some examples of no code solutions disadvantages that I personally faced. For example, I really adore Airtable, but it has strong restrictions even on pro plans. Unfortunately, Bubble is pretty slow solution, but it's amazing tool, and I really like to work in it to create some applications. But all that looks like it's pretty hard to use such kind of solution in real enterprises. But there is a solution in low code. It's combination of advantages of no code tools, I mean drag and drop and easy start, with some advantages of typical typical development process. I mean writing code. So you could write code, but you could build solutions from the bricks. In fact, this is the whole new market, and there are some good players there, and usually it's something more complicated, but average process of product development looks like that. So analysts and business users work in no code part of our system. For example, this is example of Elma 365 development, and they create solutions from ready to use bricks. But if some moment they face a situation when they don't have some exact brick, some kind of integration, some kind of specific automation, etc., developers could create that ready-to-use bricks for them. And since that moment, no-code developers could use that bricks in some future purposes. So low-code platforms disrupt the whole application development process. So you could create applications way faster, but at the same time, it's easy to expand their functionality. And usually, comparing with no-code tools, they are more enterprise and business-oriented. While some no-code solutions are oriented on building applications from some simple bricks, some kind of tabs and fields, etc. Usually, no-code applications such as Elma 365, for example, operates with business logic. So when we put some brick in our application, we shouldn't think what happened with the application when, for example, the person who should implement, should execute this task will have, for example, illness, and how we should design some business behavior with substitutes, etc. Usually this is built-in functionality. At the same time, integration process is usually way simpler, and solutions are usually have way higher level of security. So it's security-friendly thing, and this disrupts the whole business application process development. So since collecting of requirements, since turning development into the real agile methods to debugging, while business users could participate on the whole application development process. So this disrupts everything. And as I told you before, we could create that in very visual mode. So everyone inside business could understand what is actually happening. So as I told you before, we are on the market more than 13 years, and we help more than 2,000 companies to help more productive. So such kind of solutions are used by real enterprises to create real solutions. Just for example, to illustrate my words, we helped Capital Bank, is the hugest bank of Azerbaijan, to run their digital transformation and to digitalize more than 200 business processes from front office to back office. The whole business processes are run in low-code platform. So it's not only about some experiments, but it's all about huge enterprises as well. So low code allows to build solutions way faster and filter some inappropriate and appropriate ideas timely, and be creative and let ideas evolve, in fact, because we have short sprints while our ideas goes alive. And that means that we could generate even more ideas. Right now, I would like to turn to practical part of our webinars. Alexander,
Thank you,
please
Alexei. Before we actually start our journey across Elma 365, I would like to convey a few ideas that Alexei has already highlighted, but in the context of Elma 365. So the first idea is that Elma 365 provides an environment where you can create forms, automate workflows, configure filters, search, build user interfaces, etc. So it's an environment where you can do anything. And the basis of this environment, the thing that allows you to do this, well, wide variety of things, is a business app. So to be more specific, a business app can be anything. A business app can be intended to automate contracts, loan requests. So you can see on the screen some of the examples of business apps. The next idea, also already highlighted by Alexei, is that a business app incorporates several things to become, well, this powerful. The first thing is a data storage. The second is an interface where data can be found, read, and created. The third are business processes, and actually anything else that you might need. So let's go step by step. The first thing that you need to create a business app is a data storage. It's a place where users can find the information that they need. They can see this information in the representation that they need. The next thing is a user interface. So when you get a data storage, you can see that there's a lot of data. And to work with this data, you need to be able to find it. And Elma 365 allows you to set up filters, to set up fields that you can use to filter your entrances by. The next thing is the capability to create, let's say, interfaces for people with specific roles in your company. So this could be interfaces with quick access buttons, with some graphs, search, etc. And of course, if you can read data, you need to be able to create it first. And this is also solved in Elma 365. So you can set up any form that you need. You can configure it however you like and add the data types that you require. Business processes. Business processes are actually the, well, cardiovascular system of a business app. Let me use this fancy comparison. So a business process is what moves the app through its life cycle, through the workflow, etc. So in Elma 365, you can create an unlimited amount of business processes, organize them as you see fit, bind them to specific business apps, and combine all the business apps and their business processes in one workspace where all of this happens. Business processes are modeled in a BPMN 2.0 designer. And it is not just a basic BPMN 2.0 designer, which contains, well, traditional activities such as tasks, notifications, sub-process starts, etc. But it also has specific activities designed by Elma 365. They are intended to make your work with business apps simpler when you model a business process. So as for anything else, we just took a look at, well, you know, the most important things of a business app. But to make a business app really usable, really convenient for your users, and really simple to use, you need some small things but important things, such as generating an item name automatically from a template, configuring access settings so that only relevant users can see the information they are allowed to see, or probably some people with higher privileges could see all of the information in a specific business app. The next thing is statuses. Statuses help us monitor and control the life cycle of a business app. So you can see that you can set up any set of statuses, configure them as final, or hide them if you don't need them to be displayed on a Kanban board. So when you set up statuses, you can see a Kanban board with all the items distributed across statuses. And as for more, there is really a lot to a business app. There is API, there are document templates, there are web forms, interfaces, some of the things that we have already covered. And all of these things combined allow you to set up a business app that truly works, that truly helps you automate some specific areas of your business. So let's take a look at how it actually works, how we can set up a business app. What do we do? The first thing, we create a workspace. A workspace is a very important concept in Elma 365. It is something that unites several business apps thematically. So let's say you have internal documents workspace where you can create business apps like business trip, memos, leave of absence, and so on. Or you can create a workspace called documents and combine it within it contracts, supplemental agreements, and so on. So first of all, you create a workspace. It looks simple like this. You just type in a name of this workspace, and boom, here you have it. You have a workspace where you can create apps. There is, the possibility to create any number of apps within one workspace, which allows you to basically create a very convenient and very customized interface and or basically a workspace for your users. So let's say you have an HR department that works mostly with HR processes, with onboarding, with hiring, etc. And you want to make life easy for them. So when you actually choose a new system, your employees might not be very happy about it. They may say, well, we are going to need to get used to a new interface. We don't know how to use it. We don't know where to click. We don't know where to go. And you just have the ability to set up one single page where there is a menu, there is everything they need to see and nothing else. And this is what makes workspaces so important. So after you have created a workspace, you can add basically business apps. A business app starts with its forms. A form is a set of fields. So a set of fields that you require users to fill in to create an instance of this business app. Let's say in case of a business trip, these are city, description, start date, end date, traveler, documents, and so on.
Actually, it's like a database. So we just configure the database, which we will use in further purposes.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Alexei. After you have, basically configured your database structure, this is what it is. You are suggested to create a business process that will transfer app items from one user to another and bring life to your business app. As we have already seen, we create business processes in a simple drag and drop designer where you can just drag your items and your activities from the palette to your canvas. And you can also set up each individual item and activity of your business process model to better reflect the business process. You can set up swim lanes that determine who exactly will perform a specific operation within your business process. And basically that's it. These were the key elements to create a business app. And the next idea that I want to talk to you about is improvement. What we have just seen is the first level of developing a business app. It's prototyping. This is a very important concept. Alexei has already highlighted it, and I would like to highlight it once again. When you face certain automations, changes in your business, you usually don't want to waste a lot of time writing specific technical requirements and so on. You want to start trying things out. So let's say you want to automate business trip requests. You don't want to first think about all the things that a business trip might include. You don't want to think about integrations that it might imply. You want to start doing something. You want to try and see what happens, what can be improved, what can be made better. So the first level is prototyping. We have already seen it. So it's a simple interface where you can create a business app in a matter of minutes. The business app that you see on your screen was created in about 10 or 15 minutes, including the business process. And the second level is, well, let's say more important and more powerful, and allows you to start creating something that you can already use in your production environment. So you can actually start using your business trip requests when your employees go on a business trip. So the first thing that you can see is there are different types of forms. We have just seen a set of fields. That's basically it. And you can see, for example, that there is a field documents that is right here, and we don't usually want to require our employees to submit some, I don't know, receipts, tickets when they create a business trip request. We want them to do it afterwards, after they have been to their business trip. And this setting, this, well, let's say, separation of different types of forms, of create, view, and edit forms, allows us to do so. So we can add only the relevant fields when we create a business trip request. We can add all the things that we need to the view form, and we probably don't want to add too much to the edit form in case we have, well, let's say, a more strict access policy when we don't want people to edit anything they want. We just want them to, we just want to give them the ability to enter data within a business process. Speaking of which, in a business process, you can also set up forms for each specific task of this process. You can add fields that can be only read on a specific form. You can mark specific fields as required. So in this example that we have already discussed, when our employee submits a business trip report, they have to attach receipts, tickets, or other documents that they have accumulated during their business trip to, well, basically get paid for them from the company. And this is not the only thing that you can set up. You can set up deadlines for tasks. This is a very important thing. You can say that your task has to be completed within 4 hours, or even be bound to a variable. So let's say we have a due date, and we can bind it right here, and the task will have a time limit. We can set up escalations. So escalations are things that happen in case a task is overdue. Let's say we can send notifications to a supervisor. We can add probably even organizational structure items. In case it's a very important task, we can escalate it to a chief operating officer or even chief executive officer. We can interrupt the task and go to another transition to, well, even assign a task to a user who is responsible for the business process in general as a whole. And well, before we go to the third level, this is only the surface of Elm 365. These are just the basic things that you can use to make your business app really work and to start using it with your real life employees. There are basically many well, let's say it's settings cogs that you can click and see what you can set up within a specific area. So there is no designer in Elm 365. There are a few, well, let's say small designers that are dedicated to a specific purpose, but the idea is that you can change anything where where it is needed to be changed. You can set up a business process in a specific application. You can configure a specific task in a business process by clicking on it and seeing its settings. You can set up forms right in the application. You can set up its name and anything without having to, well, load some designer, some wizard where you can do all of these things. You just do it as soon as you see that it needs to be done. The third level, this is actually my favorite level. This is the level where you can use really, well, let's say small bits of code to improve dramatically what you have in your business app. So what you see on your screen is one line of code that allows us to fill in the traveler in our business trip request automatically. So the code just takes the current user and fills it in on the form. So there you have it. And you don't have to manually type it in. And just as well, in this case, we're allowed to edit the traveler after it has been filled in automatically by the system, but we can forbid it. We can make the fields read-only. We can do anything. And these lines of code can be used in forms, in interfaces. They can be used in business processes. So you can just stick a script right in your business process logic to probably do some automatic calculations, to work with data, to update data, just basically to do anything. In this case, we create an automatic calculation of business travel allowance. So we just type in the name of our function, we create it, and here we go. We are on the scripts tab in our scripts editor. Even when this, well, basically low code level is not enough, we can go to hard coding. But once again, I just want to stress out how important low coding is. It allows us to build really complete things that we work with. Even here in Elma, we work with low code developed apps. So we have inside our company processes and apps just like this, built with low code, with a few lines of code. We do some incredible automations that help us really be faster with our internal processes. However, it is not always enough to have low code tools. And well, some people need very custom things. Some people need to have their own controls, buttons colored with specific fonts, specific interfaces, but this is also not a problem for a low code system. We can use hard code. On your screen, you can see our code editor, where you just literally can lay out your styles, lay out your HTML, and create buttons with whatever behavior that you want, with whatever styles that you want. You can write loads of code for your, let's say, backend logic, where you can do calculations, work with data, even integrations. You can write HTTP requests to other external systems, or you can process data that you receive from other systems. For this case, we have APIs. So our code editor has autocomplete suggestions, and it is really simple to start using. Even if you have no coding experience or background, you can just start doing something. You can use our knowledge base samples, try them out, and boom, you already code. That's just amazing. So we have just seen the few concepts that make Elma 365 really powerful and applicable for many and many situations. We can do prototyping, we can do low-code business apps, and these things allow us to continuously develop, improve, get better, and even adjust to some really crazy stuff when we need to write a lot of code. So thank you very much.
In fact, what is the most amazing that you could unpack that solutions in ready-to-use no-code bricks. So since the moment when developer finished writing code, no-code developers, I mean analysts and business users, could continue using them without knowing actually what is inside, without actually having some technical skills to create such solutions by themselves. With a little help of developers, they could create more complex, more comprehensive solutions just within such kind of collaboration. Okay, right now we finished our brief webinar about low-code and no-code tools. We highlighted some notorious no-code solutions. I would recommend you to try by yourself if you haven't done that yet. We discussed their pros and cons, and we discussed pros and cons of low-code tools. Especially we highlighted, of course, Elma 365 because we are developers of Elma 365. By the way, you could try that right now by yourself, because anybody could ask for a trial version right on our website, and within 2-3 minutes you will receive ability to build your solutions from the scratch. So it's so dramatically simple.
Yeah.
I really believe that you should start. Please feel free to write your questions in questions box, and we could answer all your questions right now. In fact, we have some questions, but you are welcome to write some more. First question. For the low-code platform from Elma 365, how is it different from similar solutions competitions existing in the market today? I believe that this is question about our main strength points. Our main strength point is about some incredible implementation speed. So Elma is really fast, and it's very modern, because in fact Elma 365 is already 4th generation of Elma products that we developed, and we know how to build such kind of tools. I mean, we know how to build visual solutions of business applications because we are experienced enough. So you could try by yourself, and you could see that system has amazing feedback, very fast, on-site designing tools, and it's just all about incredible implementation speed. Of course, today we highlighted only part of the system because we discussed application development, but Elma is not only about business applications. It's all about document streaming, processing, about robotics, etc. That's why Elma is also pretty comprehensive solutions. Just I won't stop on that anymore. We'll switch to the next questions, but you could read on our website about all parts of our system, because Elma is a really comprehensive solution. Okay. What will happen if an accountant quits? The accountant's task has to be reassigned to a new accountant. How does the author of the task know that the first accountant has queued and no one is in charge of the task?
I have well touched upon this subject of organizational structure. And organizational structure is something that you can also design in Elmo 365 and use to your better benefit to set up substitutions, to set up swim lanes in business processes. So you just assign, well, basically a position within your company to a business process participant. And if a new person, well, gets hired to this position, they become the executor of the tasks in these business processes. And in case some tasks already are assigned to a previous person that has worked in your company, you can also basically reassign them manually or semi-automatically to a new person.
Yes, in fact, since that moment, company could stop to be strictly dependent from employees, because since business processes are automated, organization could rely on business processes, and it's all about giving promises to the market, because since that moment we could say like, we will execute that, we will perform that within one work day, and just setting up all important key points within the business process, we could assign all business logic, all workflows, how to process different kind of emergency cases, such as some person's absence, or what to do if persons can't perform the task in time, etc. Okay, the next question. How is your solution different from other well-known BPM systems like Pega and IBM BPM? In fact, we could be compared with such players, but the idea and architecture of Elma 365 is completely different, because it's all about just completely other level of implementation speed, because our solution is all about building applications, not only processes, but applications, and we have design time on place. So everything could be configured at the same place where we actually will work with that. That's why business users, such as analysts and different departments heads, could work with such systems, because previous generation of BPM software was pretty hard and complicated for such persons, and that was more about different kind of developers and some people from consulting, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to add a few words on this matter. We have already mentioned the architecture and technological advantages, and I would like to, well, actually say some specific things. So we don't use any .NET or Microsoft technology in our architecture. We use open source technologies. We use Go for backend development. We use Angular for front-end development. And we use the most, well, let's say, modern, scalable, and well, having the most brightest and potential future technology in our architecture.
Brilliant. For implementation of the processes that require integration, data processing, and internal changes, you have to use a programming language. Is that what you mean? If I understand the question correctly, yes, it is exactly what we mean. That since the moment when you face something which is more complicated, harder than just drag and drop with ready to use bricks, from pilot to canvas, yes, since that moment you could develop something with code.
Yeah, and for something more custom, something that, well, is extremely specific. And this is usually the case for most of the systems. So, yeah.
The next question seems from some kind of software integrator. What languages are supported by the system? Can we add new languages for our clients ourselves? Should we wait for the vendor's support? In fact, there are plenty of languages that we support. Of course, we support the most popular languages such as English, Spanish, German, and a few more. We're working under some next languages, but the system architecture is following the idea that partners and even clients could develop their own languages, which are maybe a little bit far from the main interest of vendor. So they could support that languages in future because we have some kind of visual tools to support translation. And yes, we are not needed to support the system. I mean, as vendor, so client could work with such languages by themselves. For example, some of our clients work with languages which are completely unpopular. I mean, there are very few amount of speakers, and of course vendor is not maybe so oriented on such languages. That's why client and their integrator could develop them by themselves. The next question is it possible to migrate data from external databases? For example, can we exchange catalog data? Thank you.
Yeah, it's possible. There are actually a few ways in Elma 365 to do this, and they also align with our concept of 4 levels of development. There are very simple ways to transfer your data from your previous system, like export and import from Excel or CSV, and there are more complicated, well, basically more custom things that you can do. You can insert data directly into the database in case of an on-premises installation. I beg your pardon.
Okay, and it seems like it's the last question. Is it possible to install and set up the system independently without the vendor? In fact, in case of SaaS solution, it's not even necessary to install something because you could activate the system right on our website, and you don't need some technical administration for maintenance and support the system, because since that moment it could be our duty. We use Amazon services with some percents all over the world. At least we're opening new points, new geography units. So I believe that we have some SaaS unit not far from you. And you don't need to install something. You just, how to say, plug and play, activate and use. Yeah. But of course, it's possible to use the system in on-premise mode. In such case, of course, somebody should install the system on your powers. It's not so hard, but it's just necessary to do, and it's possible to do without vendor because we have documentation. Yes, one more question appeared. How about ownership of the codes? In our developer communities, most app developers believe the codes written by low-code platform is not owned by them, meaning that they cannot take the codes with them if they move off from the platform. Is this the case with Elma 365?
Well, I'd say this is a rather complex question. Let me explain a few things. First of all, when you develop something based on Elma 365, you can write your own code, pack it, and well, export and use it elsewhere, but elsewhere on other instances of Elma 365. Yes, due to the architecture of Elma 365 that allows us to build these 4 levels of development, we have some, well, things that can't allow you to reuse your Elmo 365 business app in another system. But I think that this is very reasonable. If you're talking about, well, specifically code, you can easily just copy and paste it to, well, other things that support TypeScript or JavaScript that are used for custom development in our system.
In fact, there are a few cases. Of course, in order to execute, in order to perform business applications which were built on Elma 365 engine, you have to use Elma 365 engine because they are like exact match. And it's quite hard to run such applications elsewhere because you have to use Elma 365 engine. Maybe some developers in future could develop solutions which could be compatible, but at least right now it seems like we are the only vendor. But this is not only about ownership, because in case of external libraries and different solutions that could be involved in our applications and business processes, of course, it's all about your author rights, and it's all about your author rights, and you could use it elsewhere, especially if you developed that in your powers. In such case, we even don't have access to such codes.
Yeah, everything you create is your own.
Yes, but the question author is right that due to development for specific platform, of course, these creations will be platform oriented.
Yeah.
Do we have some more questions? No. Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks for your attention. And maybe that webinar was really brief. We don't want to get really deep in technical details, but we are going to conduct few more webinars. Please welcome on our website. You could see the schedule, which is already filled with some list of next webinars. We'll highlight some questions about documents processing, about robotics, and we'll conduct some specific webinars for promising partners. And I believe that we are going to conduct more technical oriented webinars about how actually create applications from the scratch and with more, how to say, like workshop ideas. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today. It was very much fun speaking to you and telling you about Elma 365. I think we'll see you on other webinars. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.